Gunslingers, deep in the mountains of Chiapas, Mexico. This is the remote of Mexico. You talk to a Mexican in the city or in the north and mention the mountains of Chiapas, they're like, like it's this Afghanistanic place. It's so far away, like it's in another world. It's like, hey man, that's part of your country. People don't talk about Alabama like that. Maybe Alaska we talk about like that. So I'm doing a swap out, and I'm traveling very light here. So when that's the case, the first thing to go is all your extra pairs of shoes, all your dress shoes. Sometimes I will bring a pair of chanclas because there's so many places that you just can't set your foot in Mexico. We use a lot of shower shoes. You know, you don't want to take a step. Many places we go, there's scorpions, there's poisonous spiders, there's snakes, there's stuff like that. And so you don't have all your other pairs of shoes except maybe your chanclas, and you've got your battle boots. Now, I wear a combat boot. I've gone back to black. For years I ran brown hiking boots, and that helped me as a lifelong warrior to blend with society. But now I've just gone back, and in Mexico, the bota táctica, the tactical boot or combat boot, is very common. All the security professionals wear it, and just a lot more people wear them because it's more common to come in and out of the cities. And if you see somebody with their Osprey backpack and their North Face jacket and their brand name boots, you know, whatever they are, REI or whatever, you're dealing with an American or a European tourist. And so really a standard black battle boot really helps me to blend a lot better. And I can have a shine put on it. I'm talking the guy will put some serious elbow grease and muscle into it for, in the big city, 50 pesos. In a small town or a village, maybe half that. So you're talking about between $1.50 and $3-4. Hey, Ron, thanks for joining us. To get a good shine put on by a professional. And so I don't carry shine equipment with me either once I, stage back to where I'm actually running and gunning and just going with one light backpack, traveling from place to place, mountain to mountain, village to village, and city to city. And so I'm going to show you in this video, just very briefly, how to do a speed break-in. These are my boots that I featured in the San Cristobal video, and it's leather. And this is a relatively cheap pair as far as an all-leather pair. This is probably on the bottom end of the spectrum. I didn't pay a lot of money for these. Leather's thin, but you can see that it finally gave way and ripped on both of them. It's coming apart here. My eyes are coming out. Laces can be replaced, but there's a point where that's break-in. You don't want to torture yourself. Generally, when you're gone in a couple hours, and somebody would be thankful to have them. A lot of people, in that communist paradise that are struggling for their life. So you can see where this is coming apart. And there's also a sole meld breakdown that starts to happen. Now, these do not have a welt on them. The welt is the part that sticks out around here. And that's the mark of a resolable shoe or boot. You can take that boot to a cobbler. And a lot of my my cowboy boots that I wear have a welt on them. And boy, just back this up a little bit so you can see. I may have to duck to get into it then. I'm actually going to back up and put these on so you can see what it looks like. Let's just go back a little bit more. You can see I'm in a borrowed Jungle Command Center here. All right. Woo! Here we go. I maybe should have done this vertical. I'm just going to sit here so you can see me and see the boots all at the same time, and we're almost there. Okay, so one key to getting your boots to break in is to wet them down. Now, I did this last night, and I am going to do a swap on my insoles. So I'm going to keep my insoles, and if you have a really good pair of insoles, you can pay $100 for a pair of insoles. And if you do that, they'll last you through more than one pair of boots. Otherwise, I didn't pay that much for these. These are, out of, I'd say, 5 levels. This is not level 1, the cheapest. This one actually has some gel technology and some cushion, some technology to help the foot. So I'm going to say this is a level 2 out of 5. When I got level 5 insoles, I'm definitely going to save those when I go to a new pair of boots. But you don't want to put them in right away, because when you go through the first break-in stage, which is the water stage, you don't want your insoles in because it'll just compress the insole. You want your foot as close to the bottom of the boot as it can be. Boots come with a cheap insole, and you can either run that or you can just pull it out. So step one, well, it depends on what you got time for. I'll either put the water in first, like I did last night, and wear these for a few hours. Hope, you don't want to put your feet right in a new pair of boots and hike 10 miles under load. You're asking for a major blister event. So hopefully you can get them wet where you'll be sitting around and not just absolutely out on the march. And that's what I did last night. I did preach in these boots. I wet them down right there in the church foyer, laced them up tight, and preached. And listen, the British SAS, they do swear by peeing in your boots. They'll take a new pair of boots, pee in both of them, smack their feet into that, and then go march all day. Like I said in my previous video, that's a lot of human sense. It's gross for starters. It's just nasty. And your boots do, especially a man's boots, get lots of urine on them. That's part of what we try to avoid when it gets into hunting season because, boy, the animals can really smell human urine from far away. So I'll actually make sure that there's a barrier to protect my boots from splash. You're out drinking coffee at 4 in the morning before you go to wherever you're going to wait on an animal. You really want to make sure that there's no urine splash on your boots because creates a huge amount of scent that'll pool all around you, and it makes it hard to score a kill for your hunt to be successful. So I don't pee on my boots any more than is necessary. As in the previous video, you can step down into a running stream and wet your boots thoroughly, and that's probably the best way. If you can heat your water, not necessarily boiling, you're asking to burn your foot, and it may break down part of your boot. But if your water's hot when you put it in, then it's just going to soak into the leather that much more. Now, if you have time and you're not in a big hurry, of course, this is the hurry tutorial. The airborne soldier of today, like many years ago, any soldier who's in a garrison and may be inspected. Over here, you're beaten uplands where you're going to tear up your boots or jump straight in the mud. That's for your sea-level boots. And then they'll have a pair of daily drivers out in the middle. Now, this is a speed break-in. When you're swapping out your old ones and going to new gear and you don't want to tear up your feet and you want that new boot to be ready for 100% maximum overdrive punishment as quickly as you can. So that's what we're really focusing on. In garrison, a guy made 20 coats of kiwi on a new set. Old Darrell Allen, a.k.a. Tiny Dick, used to take his knife and strip the factory finish off till it was all bare leather, and then go from there with all of his coats of kiwi. And even after that, I destroyed that pair of Corcoran's, probably a $200 or $250 pair of boots. All right, so where are we going here? What do we do next? You can put on the shine first and then go to your water phase, which is probably the best for long life, because then your grease will soak into the boot. Your boot oil will soak deeper into the leather. If you're in a hurry like I was, and listen, you can buy your pair of boots, snap them on, sit in the shine chair, which is probably in San Cristobal it was anyways, right across, right down the street in the market from the boot store, and have him put on a coat of shine. Then you pull out your water bottle, dump in the water, let it sit a few minutes, snap your feet in to slosh in those wet boots. I'd say that's the best. I was not right by the shine man, so we're going to save that for later today. I went ahead and did the water phase first. So now that the water phase is done, I can snap in my insoles because these have a little bit of spunk left in them, and they're gonna make it a more blister-free experience. All right, so let's go ahead and put those in. There have not been that many innovations over the years in tactical boots that have really made a difference. But one of the ones that has is the zip side. And now really everybody's using them. There are certain advantages to that. It's certainly a lot faster to get them on and off. And you'll wear a big boot more of the time, a taller boot with more ankle support and snake protection if you have a zip side and you don't have to always lace them on. So this model, they tell me this is the same brand, Rumbar and Cobra. The zipper comes down at an angle. And one problem with zip side boots is if the zipper does not go down far enough, I like them to go another centimeter closer to the sole. Did not, and so I couldn't really run them every day as tight as I would like because of that. Meaning, well, it just contributes to a more blister-fied experience. So we've done our water phase. We've swapped our insoles. One more word on socks. Listen, I'm American. I love cotton, but there's a point where it has serious drawbacks. You know, I got caught in a storm and all my laundry was wet. We line dry. You know, a lot of laundry is done by hand in the mountains of Mexico. What that means is that you get caught with wet laundry and cotton will not dry. In fact, all the cool kids that are into, you know, orienteering and adventure camping and hiking and stuff, they say cotton kills. They say stay away from it because if you're wearing cotton and you get out in a storm, it takes forever to dry, and the utility of it, the insulation factor of it is basically zero once it's wet. Also, it's very abrasive, and so you're asking to get blisters all over the place. If you wear cotton at all on a long march, when you're bumping around town, it's great. When it's cold outside, cotton is super comfortable, and I really like it for that. These are mostly wool. Spend a lot of money on your socks. $20 a pair is not excessive. And for an American, that's not a big deal. When I was doing that, they'd really freak out because that's like multiple days' pay. These are what I use to run my wet, is a sock that is mostly wool. These aren't all, but they're mostly wool. So I'm going to go ahead and go with these today because I may have some abrasion. And if I have some abrasion, this won't be as bad as 100% cotton sock. So there we go. And then let's snap on our combat boot. Still pretty tight. I didn't wear them all the way dry. If possible, you should, after wetting them, wear them for 20 hours. If you got a long bus ride or you can get away with wearing them to bed, that would be just fantastic for your break-in process. But as much of the drying process as you can wear them for, do that. All right, there's one. And then let's go with our other one. I also wanted to read you a Bible verse here. This is one of my mom's favorite verses because she knows that, like the mother of Samuel in the Bible, in his life he was lent to the Lord to wear the ephod and do the Lord's service. Can you see that? And so here's a famous verse because it's, you know, a lot of the really key verses from the Old Testament the apostles came back and quoted. So this is one of them. Let's read what the apostle says first in Romans 10 and 15. Acts, Romans, Corinthians. You know, I had a guy I'm discipling, and he reached out to me and said, so this Ephesians, why does it say the epistle of Paul to the Ephesians? So the next time we meet, probably today, as I'm breaking in these boots, I'm going to lay out for him the construct of the Bible. What it is, nobody told me that there was one gospel, but 4 accounts of it, and then 20 or 30 fake accounts that are in these newfangled so-called Bibles. But we need to, as young believers, read one gospel straight through. That's like basic. Nobody ever told him that. Nobody told me that, but I got to help him. All right, 10:15 Romans. Except they be sent. It is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. Now, that's pretty sanitized. In Isaiah 52, it's a little stronger. He talks about peace, but then he talks about something else, peace with God. There's a point where we have to hike up to faraway places and bring people the good news that they don't have to be an enemy of God. That is the core of the gospel. You can be a friend of God. You don't have to be an enemy of God. This is Isaiah 52:7. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publisheth peace, that bringeth good tidings of good, that publisheth salvation, that saith unto Zion, thy God reigneth. You know, this is part of what we preach, is that our God reigns, and that our God is the king of the world and the maker of the world. And the good news is that you can have peace with him. Part of a soldier's equipment that is the most important is his footwear. Civilians don't understand why it is that soldiers are obsessed with their boot care, with their boot shining, why they inspect one another's boots and their own boots, and why their own boots are always perfect. It's because they live their life on their feet. It's because they're out there hiking 30 miles a day under load every day, and they have to take care of them. I recommend for people that live in city America, and it's even in my article in Black Belt Magazine, that if you wear impractical for battle, and for a home bag, a pair of hiking boots, one that's broken in, one that's gone through this process, and then you have worn a few days at least, and then you'll be ready to go in the event that there's roadblocks. My last video that I put up from Chiapas, it has the picture of the roadblock. Listen, there was no way to get through the Pan American Highway, and I had to get to the other side. So guess what? Wound up on my feet like a soldier. I had to go and jump from bus to bus, and I jumped probably 4 different microbuses to get across that roadblock. And boy, everyone was so pleased, because I had indigenous pastors that were expecting to see me and that were praying for me, and they knew that the word on the street is, you cannot get there from here. Well, I sent out the message, ya brinqué el bloqueo. I have successfully jumped the blockade. Well, it happened on my feet. Part of that's traveling light. Part of it's being ready to do that at any moment. Also know that we might have fight. But isn't it interesting that just like the soldier, the apostle and the prophet Isaiah before him talks about the feet of those who bring good news. Yeah, we publish peace. We proclaim peace. We proclaim that our God reigns. Hey, just so you know, all you people are worshiping this and that deity. Well, let me tell you about the Creator God who made the heavens and the earth, and that you can have peace with him through the sacrifice of the Lord Jesus Christ. That's pretty good news. But it happened. We get there on our feet. And it's not a joke. I have worn out 40, 50, maybe 60 sets of tactical footwear over the years. You want to hear something funny? And I'm going to talk more about this on the Living by the Sword radio program. As I finish the Sabbath, I go right into recording, and it goes out on Monday night on shortwave to all North and South America, all the islands of the Caribbean, and you can get it on podcast, GospelGunslingers.substack.com. And if you sign up there, then the moment it posts, you'll get the new hour radio show for that. Okay, I'm going to talk more about reestablishing the gospel, that as the foreign preacher refused to make peace with me and just be subject to a very few things that are expected both legally and culturally in this nation, that we parted ways. All right. And then the Lord determined that I would demonstrate all over again what it is to be a field missionary. And, I broke the blockade. I wound up on some crazy places. I made that video of the Guatemalan border. And then I was coming back. And to meet my contact, he said, okay, you get to this city, then you have to ask where the microbus leaves. Then you ask which microbus goes to this place, and then that's where you go. So that was all well and good. I did all that, hopped from place to place, got on the microbus that went to the Pacific coast, and I get to this little village. Guess what? 0 cell service. No cell service. Yeah, it was just like the good old days where you have to believe God. or it was just like when you have to go off grid and you have to believe God. So, step by step, we stop, we pray, we wind up on our feet, we stop, we pray, and we believe God for each step. Who do I talk to? What do I say? What's the plan? And believe it or not, I wound up at a little church with some precious sisters. I got to speak the word. They snapped out their phones and recorded it all as I was talking to them in Spanish about the wars around the world and the things that are soon to come and the millennial reign and how God has given us precious promises in this day and how it's very important that we not slumber. And as this new generation is growing up, that I'm going to talk more about the 14th generation also. I'm going to save that for the Living by the Sword show. Just understand that I'm demonstrating what it is to be a field missionary for a bunch of, for the failed 14th generation that is out there, for the failed generation that just has no concept. They woke up, they came to life with electronics in their hand, with Google being their God and running their life for them, and they have no idea how to have grit within themselves and how to plug into the Holy Ghost of God and to follow the Spirit of God from place to place. Those ladies, they were so happy to make a new friend, and in the end, they served me a huge plate of iguana. I don't eat nasty stuff, even if it hurts somebody's feelings. And that may hurt some of your feelings, all you armchair quarterbacks out there. But the fact that I've been doing this long enough that I'm not going to risk my own health and life for somebody else's creature comforts. And you know what? At the same time, I eat bacon. And there's a lot of people that have a problem with that. So listen, I'll put my dukes up and battle it out with both sides about what we could and should eat and do. But the most important thing is most of my detractors have never lived life in a pair of military boots. They have no concept of what it is. And that's why I'm writing the book on it and demonstrating it again. So there will be more on the radio program. He's behind. As for right now, I'm going to go out on a very short hike and just let him work in a little bit. And of course, if you can, I would, if my feet started to hurt or I was starting to get abrasion or I was starting to get a blister, listen, carry these with you for a couple days and put the old ones on before you have a problem, before your feet start to tear up. Because once it happens, it's too late. You have to go through the recovery process for that. All right, let's call Logan. He's drying off because he had to get washed too. He had to take his bath. Let's see if he's listening, if he's in the place he's supposed to be. There you are. Come right here. Right there, you big brute. You big old bear. Do you want to go dry off? Because your fur is wet. Let's go out in the sun where you can dry your fur. And Uncle Sam will dry out his boots. Would you like to do that? You have a kiss for you. Have a kiss. That's so nice. That's so nice. You're such a big bear. You stay right there. All right, everybody. Off to break them in the rest of the way. And then after a nice, easy Shabbat day's walk, it's going to be, these are going to be good to go. I got my new insoles in them. I'll just go to the city center, get my shine and my boot oil to go down in the pores, and we'll be off to the races with set 41, 51, 61, who knows. Oh, one more thing I wanted to tell. My crazy ex-girlfriend, actually my fiance, her family coming from Alaska, I thought she'd be tough enough to come out and live this life. She sure said she wanted to do it, but she was in love with the world still. And I mean, this, you know, oh, she dreamed about keeping goats on the Patagonian plain in South America and all of that. But, you know, it was more like a vacation for her. She was into all of her American gear and weekend warriorism. It's very dangerous. Really, if a person hasn't lived this life, I wonder what kind of a minister they could possibly be, because their feet have not published peace. All right, so she had a dream one time, and if this was her dream, she said, and she was a runner. She ran cross country for the university. She said, I had a dream, and in my dream I asked the Lord, if I'm going to be out on the mission field, if I'm going to be out there, can I at least have a good pair of hiking boots? And then tearfully she said, and he said no, and he said no. And I said, that's all right. So she was really trying at the time. She said, that's all right. I will wear my old pair of running shoes, and that'll be fun. Well, needless to say, my first year in missions, without her, because she stayed back behind in Cityville, that exact thing happened. I was out, doing route marches, marching through rugged mountains under load with an old pair of running shoes. And after that, it was actually one of my doctors said to me, hey, Sam, go get a pair of, what was the brand he recommended? I've used so many of them, gone through so many of them over the years. And this was before the new style adhered sole. They still had a welt in those days. But he said, get a pair of this brand. And he said, they'll last you through 3 pairs of Nikes. So I stepped up and bought a pair of those. And they did well. Very after that, they changed. Timberland. He wanted me to wear Timberland. And I've gone through dozens of pairs of Timberland over the years. And they do well. And they do last through 3 pairs of civvy boots that are made for the long haul. I like the Bates brand in the USA. Their zip sides are just very well designed. It's a middle of the road brand. It's not super expensive. You can get a pair for $100, $109. That's zip side. You can get them in brown. You can get them in cactus or in black. And they'll last you a good while. They won't last forever, but under normal use, you'll get a year out of them. If you beat them hard every day, they'll be done in half a year, which is what I'm more accustomed to. But hopefully you're in a garrison situation and you can have your A's, B's, and C's. So just like so many people that have walked with me for a time over the years and then went back to the world, gone back to their God, the God of this world, gone back to Babylon, gone back to Google, and let them and the government be their daddy. I've lived out their dreams without them. His life out on the cutting edge. When the shit hits the fan, we will continue to go on. And I'm going to continue to unravel false doctrines that have caused people to be in denial about that. We're going to talk more about the millennial reign. We're going to talk more about the Lord's plans for his servants as the horsemen of the apocalypse continue to go out into the world. We're going to talk about being around and being overcomers and having the victory over the beast and his mark and the number of his name. The book of Revelation says that there's a company that does that. Do you want to be part of it? Do you want to get out of the boat? Well, don't get out of the boat unless you're going all the way. And that's why I'm making these videos for you, because this life has been all the way through 50 pairs of tactical boots, and we're going to keep on going. You want to go out and go for a walk, Logan? You want to go outside? Where's Uncle Sam's kiss? All right, go outside. Outside. Hey, outside, get outside. He's not supposed to shake until he goes outside. All right, everybody. God bless. Have a great day. See you soon.